I know firsthand how difficult it can be to start a new role and not have a plan for how you're going to be successful in your first 90 days. And because I understand that pain, I'm going to share the checklist that I've created over the past 5 years with you today. If you're new here, my name is Steph, and I'm a qualified sustainability and capital markets lawyer who's just recently transitioned into legal tech. And over the course of the past 5 years, I've had to move into a new team every 6 months during the course of my training contract. I also moved into a new team when I qualified as a sustainability and capital markets lawyer. And finally, and most recently, I transitioned out of big law completely and got a new job as a legal product consultant in legal tech. So I know exactly what you should be doing in the first 90 days of a new role, and I'm going to share that checklist with you. The first 30 days of any new role is solely for you to listen and observe. I'm going to say that one more time. The first 30 days of any new role is solely for you to listen and observe. Now, why am I saying that? The biggest mistake that I saw, and actually the biggest mistake that I made myself when I was transitioning into various different roles, was I was trying to be very quick to prove myself as a really good employee. And in doing that, I found that I was either not following the cultural norms that were in a particular company, or I was trying to replicate work that had already been done by someone else to a really good standard. So there was just no need for me to be wasting my time in that way. Or I wasn't actually performing the role that I had been hired for. And that can pose an issue if the additional thing you're doing doesn't add any value to the company. So those are three core mistakes that I have seen and made myself. And I want to stop you from making those mistakes by giving you the checklist that you should be using in the first 30 days of your new role. So here's exactly what you should be doing. Number one, stakeholder mapping. You need to understand in the new team and in the new company that you're in, who does what and how do they do it. This is really key for you because you might find that your line manager isn't who you need to go to for particular questions that you have. And that can be the case for a lot of people, but you're not going to be able to understand that if you don't take a step back, listen and observe to see who the key stakeholders are in your new environment. Three key people that I would encourage you to identify early on in your stakeholder mapping are your line manager, who you will obviously know because they should have been involved in the hiring process in some way, shape, or form. In addition to your hiring manager, you also want to make sure that you can find some kind of buddy, some kind of mentor. Now, nowadays, a lot of companies are actually assigning you with a mentor when you are newly hired. But if your company doesn't do that, or if you find that perhaps your mentor isn't someone who maybe you can go to for your silly questions, then quickly make sure that you find someone who you can go to for those questions, because it's important that you do have that safe space for you to be able to navigate your working life. The third person you need to try and find early on in your first 30 days is your key collaborator. Now, if you've been hired at the same time as many other people, then your key collaborator could very easily be one of your colleagues, but they don't have to be someone who's in your immediate team. The second thing that you need to do within the first 30 days is linked to this observing that I keep saying you have to do. And this is you understanding what are some of the unwritten rules. For example, when you're having virtual meetings, is there a camera on policy, even if the meeting is internal? This is something that you need to understand and navigate. If there is a camera on policy, what are the backgrounds like? Is everybody showing their background? Or is there a company logo that people are including in their background? Are people using blurred backgrounds? These seem like very small things, but you can imagine that if you enter a company where everyone does all of their work over Slack or over Teams, and you are consistently trying to email them, you're going to very quickly start annoying some people. So you need to take a step back and figure out what is the norm here and what do I need to adjust, if there is anything to adjust, because it might be that where you came from, these are the exact same things that you were doing as well, in which case that's a win-win for you. But if there are new things for you to have to wrap your head around, then you want to do that as early on as possible. So now you've done your first 30 days, what about the next 30 days? So what are you going to be doing in your first 60 days? The most important thing you need to do in your first 60 days is make sure that you have a 1-month review meeting with your line manager. And the reason why you need to do that is for a couple of things. First of all, if you're starting a new role, especially if it's an external role, there is probably going to be some kind of probation period. Probation periods are usually 3 to 6 months. They can vary or be longer or shorter, but your average is 3 to 6 months. So you want to make sure that in the first month of you working there, you are checking in with your line manager to see how on track you are with your probation. You can be asking a very simple question. What is one thing that I should start doing? What is one thing that I should stop doing? And what is one thing that I should continue doing? Now, you don't want to put all of this work on your line manager. You can do that work for yourself as well. So you can review what it is that you have been doing in the first month, and you can come to the meeting with one thing that you think you should start doing, one thing you think you should stop doing, and one thing you would like to continue doing. And you can discuss those things and see if your manager agrees or disagrees, and what they would suggest in addition to what you have already done. That is really important because it's going to frame what you do in your next section, which is your final 30 days. But before we get to that section, there is one other thing that I would advise that you do in your second 30 days, and that is working on your deep relationship building. Now, there are different ways that you can do this, but the easiest one for me is finding some kind of company social gathering. Depending on the time of year that you join, there might be a holiday party, there might be a summer party, there might be a spring party, the team might be doing a particular monthly event, or you can see if there are any other groups within the company where they host social events. Whatever it is, you should definitely get involved with at least one of them and try to start meeting new people outside of your team. In addition to that, if you really want to stretch yourself, I would definitely encourage you to set up some one-to-one coffees with people. Now, I know for some people that can feel really intimidating, and if that's you, I've done a whole series on TikTok where I break down how you can have these one-to-one coffees in a very manageable way that feels authentic to you. So I definitely encourage you to check out that series on TikTok if that's you. So your first 30 days is all about you being an observer. It's all about you discovering, it's all about you listening. Your second 30 days is all about you starting to make a contribution. You're starting to build those relationships, and you're also evaluating where you currently are so that you know how to form some goals for your final 30 days and beyond. So now let's get into what exactly I would advise that you do for your final 30 days. You need to remember that by the end of your first 90 days, you want to be someone who can fully take ownership of your tasks, and people in your team and around you can trust you to do the work that you've been hired to do. In order to get to that position, your final 30 days are really important in terms of you developing a strategy that is going to help you beyond your first 90 days in the company. By this point, some of the things that I would advise that you do and is included on my checklist are things like making sure you're contributing in team meetings. You should definitely be contributing something in every single meeting. It doesn't have to be a big thing. It depends on what the meeting is about, but you should have something to say. What have you been working on? Is there any industry news that you think is interesting that the team could benefit from knowing about? Is there a process that you think would be good to document? Or is there an existing process that you think would be good to iterate or update? What has been helpful for you and what can you share with others? Because that's what people are really going to want to see from you. And that's what's going to make the rest of your time at the particular company or in the particular team really successful. If you found this video helpful and you want to download the full Success with Steph checklist that has a breakdown of what kind of things you should be doing in each 30-day slot, then I've included the link down below for you so that it's easy for you to access. If you like this type of content, please do make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll be back again soon with another video.